today I'm going to show you how to make these little Croque Madame cups. They're basically just sort of a ham, egg, and cheese cup with some little bread cubes in it and Dijon mustard squirted on top. The recipe gives you some bread that you can make to use for the bread cubes. And the bonus of that is you don't use it all, so you're going to have several slices of the bread left over for another purpose. If you don't want to do that, you could certainly use your favorite low-carb bread recipe instead. Doesn't make any difference. So what you're going to need is 6 eggs divided. So I've got the yolks here and the whites in this bowl here. Then you're going to need a ½ cup of an unflavored whey protein. 4 ounces of cream cheese softened, that'd be 113 grams. And then 4 to 6 ounces of thinly sliced ham. Now that ranges from 113 to say 170 grams. I've got 170 here. 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, and then a ½ cup of a soft cheese, like they suggest Gruyere or something like that. I've just got cheddar because that's what I've got on hand. You can use any cheese you like, really. We're going to start by making some bread so that we can dice it into little cubes to put in these. So we're going to take our egg whites and add these to the bowl. And we're going to beat those until they're very stiff. And you can see that's forming peaks. See how that holds its shape in the air there? So that's about the texture you want. So as I mentioned, we're making bread, so I did forget to tell you to preheat the oven. I've got it preheated at 350 Fahrenheit, which would be about 180 Celsius. So now that we've got this whipped nice and stiff, we want to gently stir in the whey powder and our softened cream cheese. We don't want to lose too much of the stiffness that the egg whites have. Obviously you've got to stir it in, but just try to be a bit gentle with it if you can. And this is going to form a dough. Now it says just to make 3 small loaf shapes, so I'm just going to sort of divide this evenly. So as you can see, mine have sort of spread out thin and run together a bit, but hopefully they'll still be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pop them in the oven for 20 minutes. Okay, so that's been 20 minutes. As you can see, they did all run together into one large, like, focaccia roll, basically. Doesn't matter, fortunately. So go ahead and pull those out, but leave the oven on. Okay, so now next we only need 1 of these rolls for the recipe. So you're meant to put 2 aside and use 1 for the recipe. So I'm just going to have to cut mine. They're basically a recipe very similar to the cloud bread that's all over the internet. So you can use any kind of low-carb bread recipe you want to make these if you didn't want to make this one. But I just thought I'd try this because it comes with the recipe. So again, I'm just going to set 2 of these aside for another use. Now this one, we want to cut into strips, and then we're going to put it back in the oven again so they get crispier. I'm just going to spread those out a bit, and I might even get a new piece of paper just because this is quite wet. So I've actually turned my strips upside down too, so that the side that's already browned is down. That way if they do get any more golden, it'll be on this side. 5 more minutes just to get a little crispier. Okay, so that's been 5 minutes. And they've definitely crisped up nicely. So we'll pull those out, but again, leave the oven on. Now you want these to be cool enough to handle, and literally I've just taken them out and I can pick them up already, so mine are fine. But if yours aren't, just leave them sit for a minute. And now you just want to dice these into cubes. Now we'll just set these aside and get out a 6-cup muffin cup. Now you can line these if you want to. You could spray them with something if you're worried about it sticking at all, but these are silicone. I'm not too worried about that. And we're going to start by lining each one with 2 slices of ham. Now again, these are very thin deli slices, so depending on how thick yours are, you might need to overlap them a certain way or whatever. Just want to get about 2 slices in each one. So that sort of forms the case for your little shells. So keep doing that. Now they don't have to be perfect, you just want to have a nice little well in the middle that you can put your next ingredients in. So the next one is we'll divide the cheese among these Put that down in the middle. Next, depending on the size, you'll want to put 2 to 4 bread cubes in each cup. Just sort of push them around so you've got a little bit space in the middle yet for the egg yolk. Now the last step is you're just going to spoon 1 egg yolk into the middle of each cup. You can leave it whole or you can break it so it fills in all the nooks and crannies. It really doesn't matter. And now we're going to pop these back in the oven for about 15 minutes. It's been 15 minutes. That egg looks pretty well set to me, so I'm just going to set those aside. Now the last step, it says, is just to top each one with a little squirt of Dijon mustard. Mine doesn't come in a squirt bottle, so I'm just going to drop a little bit on using a spoon. And I like Dijon, so I don't mind if I get a bit more. So there you have it. Croque Madame cups. Pretty easy to make and really very tasty. I do hope you give them a try, and I hope you like them as much as I did.